So like sales, hated sales.
People will be shocked to hear you say that.
Hated it. I was in 5 sales jobs, was a disaster at all of them. Absolutely hated it.
But you're the master of sales.
I am. I embrace the things I hate.
Why were you bad at it? Why did you hate it?
I didn't know, well, I was bad at it because nobody teaches anybody how to be good at sales. So I didn't know how to communicate to people, didn't know how to shake a hand, didn't know how to build rapport. I'm honest enough that I'm not going to lie to people. So the stuff I was being taught to do, I didn't like. They ask a question, you ask them a question. Slimy, dude. I have enough integrity and ethics that when you tell me, okay, we're not manipulating, but don't answer their question. I'm like, well, dude, that's just, that is manipulation. And that's why I think a lot of people don't like sales, because of what's been taught for 100 years.
So the blueprint's outdated. You got there and you're like...
It was always wrong.
Okay.
It was wrong, and it's why, I believe it's why salespeople have such a high turnover, why so few people want to be called salespeople. I mean, you go through Harrods down there, you can't find a salesperson in the whole joint.
You think salespeople are ostracized in America?
Oh, dude,
Try
it's
coming
terrible
here.
It's terrible here.
I mean, really?
We've had books where Sell or Be Sold, we had to change some of the language in the book for it to be in bookshelves here. So like the word pressure can't be in there, persistence can't be in there. Like there's things laws you guys actually have here that like...
Go to Europe, it gets one step worse. Because it's this whole, I'm ashamed of money and I don't want to talk, we can talk about that too. But so the sales blueprint, you get in, they give it to you, it's not working for you, it doesn't make sense for you. And you're like, I gotta make my own.
Well, what happened was I was in a sales job. I got a college degree in accounting, and
because you thought it would teach you about money and it didn't.
Yeah, so I end up in this sales job. It's the only job I could get. And so I hate it, right? So I go to the treatment center. I come back out of the treatment center. I threw myself into it because it's the only thing I had. I still had so little self-esteem that there was no way I was going to go try to get another job.
Yeah.
Right? And I was terrified of using drugs again. So I'm like, I went back, the place where I was working, they took me back, and I threw myself into it. And it's interesting when you commit to something, little gifts just start automatically showing up. It's a phenomenal thing. It's happened my whole career. When I fully commit, somebody will bring me something. And
there's resistance along the way and problems along the way, but if you get through those things.
Dude, if you just like super commit.
Okay.
And then keep your eyes open. And by the way, the package may come wrapped in a package you weren't thinking about.
Hard work.
Or like a voice, or like a person, or maybe from a different direction than you thought, or an offering where you're like, you read something about this and that's not the thing. Like all throughout my career, it's come in weird kind of ways. And so, like if you ask for help and somebody shows up at the door, maybe invite them in.
Okay.
Regardless of what the packaging is or what you've heard about it or whatever. That's really been beneficial to me.
Okay, open mind. Keep your ears open.
But not too open.
Okay, because you don't want everybody's advice or you'll be mediocre again.
You'll be
lose your individuality.
Yeah, you won't even know what to do. If you listen to me and Dave Ramsey, you won't know whether to get debt or avoid it.
Okay.
And you won't do anything, but you'll be very knowledgeable.
Right. And,
okay. So I threw a guy walks up, he gives me it was a little cassette tape. He's like, hey, I heard this, I thought you might like it. I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, there's a way to sell stuff. I didn't know there was actually something you could do. I listened to it, I called the 800 number. I said, what else do you have? And the guy said, we got a program for $3,000. It's 25 years ago, so it's like 10 grand, right? Mm. So I said, I'll call you back. Called my mom, I said, I need to borrow $3 grand. First money I ever borrowed outside of college. She gave me the $3 grand, and it changed my career.
Wow.
And then when I listened to this guy, and then I got this set of tapes and I'd watch it on sales and how to be a salesman, how to negotiate. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna end up doing for a living. I'm gonna teach people how to do this. Because there was such a vacancy and a void of it years ago. But what happened was, what I didn't like was some of the trickery in it. What I did was went in over the years and removed the trickery and basically made transparency and the authenticity in sales the way to service people. And now that's become a multi-$100 million business for me.
But it's still a dirty word for a lot of people. Will that change over time?
It might, the whole space might disappear first, actually, because of the internet.
Really? Because everything will be custom and tailored and...
Everything's just order it.
Really?
You know, order online.
Sales can't die, Grant.
Well,
Don't human opinions always need to be changed and challenged?
I don't think it dies. Like you know, the strategy of negotiating with people. Like I do big deals today. Like, you know, I used to think a $20,000 deal was a big deal, but no, I'm working on $200 million deals today. So those deals are probably not going to be done over the internet. They're complicated. They require personalities and people, and anytime you involve people, then you have insecurities, and people have superiors to please, and then you got egos on the line, and it's the same thing at every level.
Which is good, though. That's an opportunity for you.
That's an opportunity.
Okay, but you're
So
saying...
at that level, like if you're going to negotiate your own deal, LeBron negotiates his own deals. You better know how to sell. Or you better just walk away. The ultimate is just walk away. Somebody else will offer you something else. But most people don't have that kind of marketability, right? So it's the everyday guy. I think some of the sales that will go away are the retail stores, like that kind of selling.
Okay, gotcha. Where it used to just be the human touch point. Okay. So
I think it's going to depend now on a click.
Okay.
You're still going to touch somebody and they're going to convince you this is the thing to buy or whatever, but some of that's going to go away, but you're still going to, the most important things in your life, you're still going to want to negotiate, find the right person, negotiate, like your job, you know, or opportunity. I got guys that work for me that are 33 years old, make $1 million a year. They negotiated the right deal for them, found the right guy. Negotiating isn't always about buying this piece of furniture, right? They negotiated with themselves as well as the marketplace.
And found a deal that made everybody win. 5 years it took you to get out of rehab and make your first $1 million. Did you get all your self-esteem back? Because I know that takes time. From personal experience, I know it takes years.
No. Money in many situations can actually increase the sensitivity to the lack of self.
How so?
Because, you know, you would think, first of all, I was so busy working. By the time I was 33, I think 31 or 32, somewhere in there. One day I looked up, I'm like, oh wow, I got $1 million. Nobody makes $1 million, right? You accumulate.
Yeah, if you're shooting for $1 million, you won't get there, right?
You accumulate. One day you're like, oh, I got $1 million in a bank account. That's what makes a millionaire. Everybody's gonna make $1 million. You make 50 grand a year for 20 years, you made $1 million. You know, but accumulating $1 million. Now I got $1 million, I'm like, damn, this is nothing. Which is like terrifying.
There's a line in Wall Street where Bud Fox says, I never knew how poor I was until I started making a little bit of money.
Yeah, exactly. I remember one year I made 650 grand. The guy looked at me, I was telling somebody, I said, I made 600 grand this year. And he's like, how do you live on that? I said, excuse me? He said, how do you live on that? How do you make sense of your potential at that? And are you bragging or complaining? He's like, I'm confused. And I'm like, fucking thank you so much. See you later. I got to get back to work. Because it was a wake-up call, man. I'm like, oh, wow, what's available out there?
Is that a real estate guy?
That guy was actually not. He was a New York Wall Street banker guy.
You said you might have gone into Wall Street if you had to do it all over again.
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely do like a hedge fund or, you know.
Because it scales and there's tons of opportunity and there's things happening there.
Yeah.
Okay. But you went 5 years into sales and perfecting these techniques, and you got into real estate because you wanted a place to put your cash and put your instruments, right?
Yeah. So the first business was me going out talking to companies. I was cold calling on businesses around America in the major cities, saying, "Hey, I have another way to sell things. I want to show it to you. I just want to try it out with your staff and see what happens." And that.
Are you good on the phone now? Are you getting pretty good?
I'm doing on the phone.
And you're pretty good.
I'm saying I'm gonna be in town. I'm coming to town.
Okay.
And they don't know who I am. I have no name. I hadn't written any books. I have no creds. Nothing.
Okay.
Hey, my name's Grant. I'm coming to town. I'd like to meet you. I'd like to show you something. I'm not interested. Click. I'd still go see the guy. So I started building. That's when I really became a salesperson. I'm 31 to 33 years old, and I'm banging the phone 3 days, and then I show up in a city.
Okay, that's what makes a salesperson, because it's cold calling and then showing up.
It's
and
a
getting
cold
through the
call
door.
followed up by a visit. Hey, I called you the other day. You told me not to come by. Appreciate what you said. I just want to introduce myself, and the reason I'm in town. And then I'd go into my pitch, and I'm like, I'm going to have an event here 2 weeks from now. I'm not interested. I know you're not interested. How could you be? You don't have enough information to be interested. Like, that's where I learned to sell.
Okay.
It wasn't the 5 years before that.
Okay.
Like now I'm learning how to produce a lead, how to create interest, how to keep interest, how to persist in a cycle, how to hit a deadline, because every one of these events was 2 weeks later.
Right.
So
But you need a deadline.
I'm fun. Absolutely. I need a tight deadline.
Right.
We were talking about the webinars earlier before the interview, and so I learned how to do everything in very tight timelines. Where most people we just did an event, 2,200 people showed up. We marketed the entire event for 77 days, from idea to close of event was 77 days. Nobody does that. Most people take a year to do that event.
Okay.
So we did a 9,000 person event in under 9 months. Nobody hits these kind of targets. So what I was learning, what I didn't know back at 30 years old, was I was learning about the value of time, man, and pressure. And that had become literally like what has made my little thing here, or things, whether it's real estate or I'm off track from your question. But
This is good. So the value of time, meaning
compression of
you
time.
can get much more in there than you think.
Oh my God. Like I get more done in a day than anybody I know.
All right. And by doing that, you're even much more effective.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Your sales is more effective, and you're just compressing everything.
Yeah, time is money, right? If time is money, and I'm compressing things. So a guy told me, I said, who do you think works harder, me or you? He's like, oh, he does. He's convinced he works harder than any person in the world.
It's
right?
Gary Vee.
Yeah. Me. I said, yeah, but who gets more done, dude? Who monetizes more faster? These are the bigger questions, not who works harder. It's who puts the branches and the pecans and the leaves in the bag without making the biggest mess. Like that is what a business is. It's not about making a mess or doing a bunch of work or looking all raggedy ass at the end of the day. It's how much can you get done with time, right? And
that's a meme gone wrong on social media. I hustle, work all the time. It just means you're out there making a bunch of motions.
Dude, like I don't want to hustle. I want to prosper. I don't want to grind. I want to create a machine that monetizes. I'm not shameful of money. I want money. I want a lot of money. I want to give money away. I want to raise a lot of money. And you can't do that if you're broke.